really excited about the crew that we have. I think as everybody knows in college football nowadays, it's a little bit of a reset and a restart every year now. And, we're not any different. I think this year, I think we have 28 guys that we're going to have new scholarship guys that are here this semester, including 15 transfers and 13 high school players that enrolled early, which seems to be a trend now that everybody is doing, coming in early, and which is great. We get to work with these freshmen. We get to see what they like, kind of easing them in, and then how quickly can we advance them. The other thing that we've done is be able to retain the guys that we needed to retain off the last year's team, and I think that has been huge for us. Dante Corleone, man, what a great guy to be able to keep around here for another year. Guys like Joe Royer that had an opportunity to go to the NFL and decided to come back. Gavin Gerhardt, which is one of our best leaders on our team this year, will be a 3-time captain for us. And, those guys are leading like crazy right now on this football team. This new center that we're getting ready to build that's going to be ready here in a few months is game changer for us. It's going to level the playing field. We're going to be able to be a much more connected football team day in and day out. I hope all of them. Quite honestly, Golday is an awesome player and a great human being. I think you mentioned Golday, but just because he was at a smaller school, and didn't have a ton of notoriety coming in. A guy that just right off the bat is Jeff Caldwell from Lindenwood. I don't even know if I've really ever heard of Lindenwood, quite honestly. But when we watched him play, I was like, man, he's got some talent and got tremendous amount of length. So a guy like Jeff Caldwell could be a Goldie type player for us this year. We've only been here for a couple of weeks now, but he's a guy that is 6'5", extremely long arms, has really good hands, but also very athletic. He broad jumped over 11 feet this week. And I think that's the top on the team. Anything over 10 is outstanding. He's at 11. So he's got an extreme vertical in 2 steps. He's eating up 10 yards. So he's a different kind of player. And, the other thing with him is, being at Lindenwood, not really a knock on him, but coming in here with Coach Nico and his staff for the next 6 to 7 months and being able to put some great strength on his body to be able to get stronger when you're playing out here with the kind of guys we got to play against. So I think he'll certainly be a guy that will I think turn some heads, coming from a small school. Tywee Walker's a guy who's very productive. He's played at Nippert. He was at Oklahoma, and came out here and played that day and then went to Wisconsin last year and it was very productive there, close to 900 yards rushing in the Big Ten. So, ironically, he kind of really favors Corey Connor. Quite honestly, when he came in on his visit, he was 221 pounds, at about 5'9". So, very similar to Corey. He wants to get down. He wants to play around 215. So I think he'll probably end up being maybe a little heavier than Corey. A great pass protector, but he can run. He runs hard. So I think he'll be very similar. With that, and so I'm excited about the running back room. Get Pryor back. Who's one of the big play running backs throughout the country, and I think he could even have a more expanded role next year as well. Cyrus Allen's a guy. He can run. He can run. And so, he's a guy who was a La Tech, and he went to A&M last year, started for them, and I think he could have a breakout year for him as well. Caleb Goody, he was one of the fastest receivers last year in the country. I think he was 5th or 6th in the country, according to Catapult. It was over 22 miles an hour, close to 23 miles an hour. We all know that we had to get faster out there at the wide receiver position. So now, with Caldwell, you got some size, and then with Caleb Goody and Cyrus Allen, you got some speed. And then Noah Jennings, I think, is just a very solid football player. He's a punt return guy. He's a guy that's very smart. And I think he'll be added to the mix, along with guys like Tony Johnson, who had 6 touchdown catches last year. So I feel like our receiver room, we really helped ourselves there with some speed there. That's really what we want to go after. That's how important Brendan was in the recruitment of these wide receivers. I think as a wide receiver, you're not going to any school that you don't think can throw the football. And so he obviously has a ton of arm talent. And he recruited these guys from day one. As soon as we could get a hold of them and get them in here, he was recruiting them, calling them, talking to them. Obviously, when they were here, hanging out with them the whole time. But again, we don't get them if we don't have Brendan's our quarterback and somebody that's fully invested in trying to get the best receivers we can possibly get. You get a national championship at Ohio State, and he brings he's a lot bigger than Sherm. I think he's a 6'4" and a half guy that's close to 250 pounds. So He's also a big-time special teams player. He was on a lot of the teams there, special teams at Ohio State, and he'll just add that a guy on the edge of the offense that can provide some great blocking there. And he obviously there's a huge role for us on this team. It also enables Gavin and Zahersky and those guys to continue to develop and grow, because we think they're going to be outstanding tight ends as well. Warrior was huge in that recruitment because obviously they play together, and and I think Joe obviously feels very comfortable here, and so just kind of tell him all about it. So we were able to get him to slide down here and hopefully help us go compete for a Big 12 championship. But we got to be able to find spots for those guys. A guy like Stokes, who's a outstanding player. We got to find a spot for him. Saints was a freshman last year, but did some great things. I think the star spot for him is really good. Quade Sabor is a guy who I think could be an outstanding football player for us, and we got to find a way to get him on the field. Like, he's one of our most explosive players, and he's like a heat-seeking missile. So finding a way to put him on the field. We brought Harrison in, who's a guy who started games at Tennessee. I feel like he can certainly help us. We just got to find the best spot for him at one of those safety positions. Xavier Williams, a guy who led Middle Tennessee in tackling after playing quarterback. And he's a 6'2.5", 215-pound big safety. Feel like he may be in that boundary safety role, but I think the thing we got some guys that are talented. Tayden Barnes, another outstanding player, so who I think has got a nose for the ball. So where are they best fit? And I think that's what spring practice is going to be about. I've heard from other players like, man, he can really go. And I think guys know who can run and who can, and I think when they're making those comments, he really glides across the field. He's an outstanding player, was a first-team All-Sun Belt player. He also is a return guy, which obviously we need to get better in that respect as well. So excited about what he's going to bring to the table. So we got faster as this team. We got more athletic again, and I think that's what you want to see, and that's where you want to trend to. When you think about special teams, obviously we got to get better there. Max Fletcher, will be our punter. Here's a guy who averaged right at 47 yards at Arkansas, one of the best punters in the country. We watched him all last fall. He can really punt it, and that's going to be critical for us on our punt team. We got to be able to flip the field. We did not win the hidden yardage. Hidden yardage is, when we calculate the special teams in the four core, we did not win that in the last half of the season. First half of the season, we were solid. Last half, we were not. That contributed to some of these losses, and we got to get better at the special teams aspect. But Max will be a guy that I think can do that for us.
Yes, sir. I'm a playmaker. I make plays. At Coastal, I was just locking up the number ones. Freshman year, I was able to go on special teams, so I was doing a lot for them at that, and for that part, for kick returns, being the gunners, just learning. And when it was my time to go out there at corner, just did my job, locking people up.
Really just opportunity. This past year at Tennessee, obviously I played a good amount, got an opportunity to start some games and all that type of stuff, but really just expanding my role and just becoming the guy on defense in that secondary. At Tennessee, we worked hard, of course, and did all those type of things, but they kind of I wouldn't say protect us, but it's a lot of hard work here. So but I'm loving every minute of it, and I appreciate all of it.
So coming from Ball State, I had a great experience over there, but really looking for something bigger and better. Coming here, I always look for, in visits, always look for that family culture. And when I came here, I felt it through all the coaching staff, and the players that I met, Sorsby, Gav, those guys, I already consider them family and brothers to me, because those guys helped me out so much already. And that kind of culture, really intrigued me to come here.
For me, it was kind of a crazy deal, because I was getting ready to train for the draft and unexpectedly got another year eligibility. So I'm on my 5th year now, and so when I came apart, I entered my name in the portal, and this was school was on top of my list, and I took a visit, and it was just, they treated me well, felt like home to me, and just excited to get ready to start with the boys. Coming into it, we knew it was a smaller stadium, but the atmosphere was amazing. You would have thought we were playing in front of 200,000 people. The atmosphere was so great. That was a fun game for both sidelines. Both teams were in it the whole game, and it was just a great game, great atmosphere, and very intense. And that was just probably one of my most fun games I played in the Big 12.